Hello, I am Ajit Kumar Jha, Editor-in-Chief of Power Pixar channel, and today in this video we are going to concentrate on the assembly election that are going on right now in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Jammu and Kashmir, if you remember, is that state which is known on the one hand for its beauty, for its Dal Lake in Srinagar, for the number of tourists that used to go there at one time, and on the other hand, it used to be known for terrorist attacks from terrorists coming over from Pakistan. That was how Kashmir was in the narrative about Kashmir was in the minds of most people. Today, there is a difference. Today, democracy is at action in Kashmir. Remember, the last assembly election in Kashmir was in the year 2014. That was 10 years ago when Prime Minister Modi had come to power. And in that 2014, to recap briefly, the PDP of Mufti Mohammad Saeed and later her daughter had done very well. In fact, there was a government, coalition government formed for the first 3 years, a very unusual kind of coalition government between the BJP and the PDP. But that did not last after 3 years, and then after that, Kashmir went for really turbulent times for several reasons. One, it's a special status in the Indian Constitution which was given because of Article 370. That was removed, number one. Number two, Kashmir used to be a proper state in India. The entire of Jammu and Kashmir, including Ladakh. Now that was removed. Jammu and Kashmir was made into a union territory, and Ladakh was separated out from the entire region. So these two issues have become real point of grievances among Kashmiris, especially in the Kashmir Valley. And therefore, the local parties that are contesting, the National Conference, led by the Abdullahs, the PDP, led by, Mufti's children. In fact, Mufti's granddaughter is contesting this time. And other parties, other local parties like People's Conference, for example, like Apni Party, you might have heard of Engineer Rashid, who actually in the last Lok Sabha elections in 2014 ended up defeating Omar Abdullah, and that also when he was arrested in Delhi. So therefore, there are a lot of these so-called what I would call independent parties that have come up, which did rather well and surprised most of us during the Lok Sabha elections. Many of them are contesting. But the regional parties, all of them, for them, the main agenda for them is restoration of statehood of Kashmir, number one. Number two, they also want restoration of Article 370, which is a very tricky issue because both the Bharatiya Janata Party and the Congress Party, which is otherwise part of the India Alliance and contesting an alliance with the National Conference, but the Congress Party does not mention the restoration of Article 370 either in its manifesto, or their leaders do not talk about it. Even Rahul Gandhi, for that matter, or the Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge has never uttered a single word on it. Similarly, in the past, if you compare the past 2014 or even assembly elections before them, right from the time of 1987, when the first election took place under Farooq Abdullah, in which Rajiv Gandhi and Farooq Abdullah, there was an alliance of Congress and the NC, but that was one of the most corrupt elections ever took place, where openly votes were looted by the ruling parties, and that's the time when the modern problem of Kashmir began. And since then, series of elections have taken place where the Hurriyat and other separatist parties have talked about the fact that any changes in Kashmir, they have to talk to Pakistan, because the idea is that Kashmir is one big region, 1/3 of which is under Pakistan occupation, 2/3 is under India. But in contrast to that, in this election, no party, either local or Congress, has talked about talking to Pakistan. They are totally silent, despite the fact that when Prime Minister Modi went to campaign both in Srinagar and in the Jammu region, he brought up the issue. In fact, if you remember, a video was floated of the Defense Minister of Pakistan, and Prime Minister Modi made this statement. In fact, his main thrust of his campaign speeches were A, that Kashmir is ruled by 3 families. The Gandhi family, meaning Rahul Gandhi, and right from Nehru to Indira Gandhi to Rajiv Gandhi, Sonia Gandhi, and Rahul Gandhi. Number 2, the Abdullah family. Again, in the entire history of Kashmir, the single largest party most often has been the National Conference led by the Abdullahs. Omar Abdullah was chief minister for 5 years. Before that, his father was the chief minister. Before that, his grandfather was the chief minister. And Mufti Muhammad Saeed, so the Saeed family. So he talks about these 3 families controlling the agenda of Kashmir, number 1. And number 2, he points out that their agenda, the agenda of these 3 families, is the same as the agenda of Pakistan. They are dictated by Pakistani agenda. They talk to Pakistan, which is technically not correct, because that used to be the agenda of the Hurriyat and the separatists. In fact, in a reply by Omar Abdullah in his campaign speech, he asked this question to the Prime Minister: who do you say controls or is responsible for the deterioration in Kashmir, Pakistan or the 3 families? Can't be both. So that was a pretty good speech by Omar Abdullah. Other than that, other than these 2 big issues that I mentioned, the regional parties also talk about several other issues. For example, removal of the UAPA and the PSC, the fact that lots of young men have been arrested and put in jail, are incarcerated with allegations, but has not been proved guilty. Omar Abdullah says when he comes to power as chief minister, if he does, then in that case he will ensure the release of these youngsters. A very sensitive subject, especially in the Kashmir Valley. Then they talk about jobs and Jameen. In the last 10 years, there has been changes in the land laws and in the job laws. Outsiders, if they come, under what conditions can they come? What are the conditions to get a domicile certificate, to get a job there? Now, these are kind of important issues among the local parties, especially all the local parties that I mentioned. Today, Kashmir has 90 assembly seats, Kashmir and Jammu together. 47 of those seats are in the Kashmir Valley, 43 seats are in Jammu. 3 phases of elections, 2 phases are over. In the first phase of election, there was 60% turnout, an incredibly high turnout compared to in the past assembly elections. And a free and fair poll, no violence at all. Again, in the past assembly elections in Kashmir, there would be violence. This time there has been no violence, no call for separatism, no call for, no talk about Pakistan, and a mood of what I would call hope and euphoria. So, if all goes well in the third phase, on the 8th of October, when the counting begins, if we see a majority government forming, it will be wonderful for Kashmir. It will be the end of these last 10 years of what I would call an era of darkness and moving towards an era of light, hope and euphoria. what are the possibilities? It's everything has changed. The delimitations have taken place. The constituency profiles have changed. So it is very difficult to predict. But the trends that are emerging, the patterns that are emerging, from there one could say that in the valley, BJP doesn't have much of a presence. Over there, the main parties seem to be, at this moment at least, the India Alliance parties, the National Conference and the Congress party in alliance. PDP is not part of the alliance, but the Congress is kind of soft on it. The National Conference, not so much. Then there are the other smaller parties. In Jammu, the main fight is between the two national parties. The BJP, which I think is the dominant party in Jammu, given the fact that, especially in the Hindu areas, and the Congress. Now, if the BJP ends up getting out of 43 seats, let's say 35 to 38 seats, then they might be in a position to form the government. They will have to look for allies. They'll probably end up looking for allies among the so-called separatists, including Apani party. In fact, Omar Abdullah and his father have called Engineer Rashid an agent of BJP. In fact, the B team of BJP. Why? Because he was released from the prison to campaign exactly during the time of the elections are going on. So they might try to talk to the other independents if too many of the independents win, and that is still a possibility. But otherwise, if in the valley, National Conference and Congress ends up winning the lion's share of votes, then if they are able to accommodate, let's say, PDP also along with them, then they might be able to form a government. So these seem to be the two big possibilities. But in Kashmir, you can never be sure, because a third X factor might always turn up. But what is positive in all this is that elections have taken place, as I said, after 10 years. Generally, all political parties have participated. Turnout is very high. There hasn't been major complaints about anyone trying to backstab someone, or the EBMs and other kinds of the usual complaints that are made during elections. So it seems that a possible government will come. Once the government comes, what will be the big issues of the government? Restoration of statehood is something that all parties are looking forward to. Of course, it will require a ratification by the Indian Parliament, but that is something on the agenda. Restoration of Article 370, I think that is going to be a very, very long-term possibility, even if it is there. But most important, I think, with the help of the Lieutenant Governor and the help of the central government, what all parties must do is focus on the development of Kashmir, bring back the tourists as it was, bring back that era of beauty, bring back the fact that Kashmir used to be the biggest tourist destination in the country. Thank you very much.